The night was calm over the outer rim station known as Helios Outpost 9, floating silently on the edge of known space. Captain Elias Ward, a man who had spent years listening to the endless noise of the universe, sat alone in the command room. He had heard countless radio signals, most of them meaningless static or distant alien transmissions. But tonight, something broke the silence. A soft, trembling voice, almost human, whispering through the static. "You're the only one who can reach it." The words repeated again and again, broken, frightened, and filled with a strange emotion that Elias could not explain. He froze, his eyes fixed on the console. No human colony existed in that part of space. No known communication channel operated in that frequency. And yet there it was. A woman's voice pleading for someone, for him. Elias leaned forward, increasing the signal gain. The screen flickered with strange wave patterns that did not match any known source. His first thought was that it could be a trap. Pirates or unknown alien species often used fake signals to lure ships, but this voice was different. It carried pain, urgency, and something deeply personal, like she knew him somehow. He replayed the message again. The words changed slightly this time, clearer than before. "Elias Ward, you're the only one who can reach it." His heart skipped a beat. It was impossible. Whoever this was not only knew his name but also called to him directly. He tried tracing the coordinates, and his computer hesitated before locking onto a location, a dead star system, marked on ancient star charts as Vera Null. Records said the star collapsed centuries ago, leaving behind nothing but empty space and radiation. No life could exist there. No signals could escape from that kind of gravitational field. Elias stood up, staring at the dark void displayed on the holographic screen. "This cannot be right," he muttered. The more he stared, the stronger the feeling grew inside him, like the voice was echoing in his mind, urging him to move, to find it. He activated his ship's engines, overriding the station's protocols. His crewmates had gone to sleep, unaware of what was happening. The moment he left the docking bay, the stars blurred around his ship, and space itself seemed to twist as if trying to hold him back. Hours passed as he approached the dead system. The darkness ahead looked thicker like liquid shadows. The sensors failed one by one: navigation, gravity detectors, even communications. But the voice returned, soft and near. "Hurry, before they find me." Elias's breath caught. The voice was clearer, closer. "Who are you?" he asked into the communicator. "How do you know me?" Static replied for a moment, then the voice came again, quieter, trembling. "You came once before. Long ago. You promised you would return." He frowned. That was impossible. He had never been to this system before, never heard that voice, never met whoever she was. Yet the tone in her voice sounded like she remembered him, as if time itself had folded. Suddenly, alarms blared. The front view of his ship darkened as something massive appeared ahead, a field of glowing debris moving like a storm of shattered glass. Elias steered through, his hands tight on the controls. The fragments seemed alive, spinning and whispering against the hull. For a brief second, he saw shapes inside the debris, humanoid outlines, stretching toward his ship. He shut his eyes and pushed forward. "Almost there," the voice said again, this time calm and steady. "You are close, Elias. The barrier is weak." He looked at the coordinates. There should have been nothing there, no planet, no station, no light. But something faint glimmered through the void. A faint blue sphere half hidden by clouds of dust orbiting the ghost of the dead star. His ship's AI tried to scan it, but the readings made no sense. The planet's surface emitted heat and energy, even though the system's sun was gone. "This is impossible," he whispered. "You should not exist." Then across his control panel, glowing symbols appeared, foreign letters rearranging themselves until they formed words in English. "Please, reach me before they do." His eyes widened. The ship shook violently as if struck by a wave of invisible energy. Sparks burst from the side consoles. Gravity flickered in and out, throwing him from his seat. The entire vessel groaned under pressure as if the universe itself was rejecting his presence. Elias tried to stabilize the engines, but another pulse of energy hit. The windows filled with light. For a moment he saw an image not from the outside, but inside his mind. A city of silver towers burning in silence, and a woman with silver skin reaching out to him across the void. Her lips moved, and he could almost read them. "You are the only one who can reach it." The ship tumbled out of control, falling toward the mysterious blue planet. Warning lights filled the cabin. Elias gritted his teeth, trying to regain control, but the power systems shut down one by one. The last thing he saw before the blackout was the planet's surface glowing brighter, like it was awakening to his arrival. Then everything went dark. Elias opened his eyes slowly. The alarms had gone silent. The stars outside the window were gone, replaced by a pale, shimmering sky filled with drifting lights. He had landed somehow, though he could not remember how. His ship was damaged but still intact. The strange energy around the planet seemed to hum softly, almost like a heartbeat. Elias could feel it under his skin, vibrating through his bones. He looked out and saw ruins across the horizon, giant structures half buried in luminous dust. And then faintly through the static of his communicator came the voice again. "Elias, you found me." He froze. The voice was closer now, no longer distant or distorted. It sounded real, alive, and heartbreakingly human. He felt something stir inside him. Not fear, not curiosity, but a deep, instinctive sense that this was only the beginning. Above him, the dead star flickered once, like an eye opening for the first time in centuries, and Elias Ward realized that whatever waited on this planet was not just calling for help. It was waiting for him. When Elias stepped out of his ship, the air felt thick, almost alive. The ground beneath his boots glowed faintly, sending ripples of pale light across the cracked surface. Every breath he took tasted strange, as if the atmosphere was built from memories instead of air. The sky above shimmered with two broken moons, and between them hung a silent storm of glowing dust. He scanned the ruins ahead. Massive towers rose from the ground, their surfaces covered in runes that moved like living things. The structures were too perfect to be random, too symmetrical to be natural. They looked ancient, older than any recorded civilization. Yet somehow they pulsed with a weak heartbeat, like they were waiting to wake. Elias turned on his helmet's translator and whispered, "Unknown origin. Composition, non-terrestrial. Energy readings unstable." His voice echoed in his ears, but there was no response from his AI. The interference field was still blocking all internal systems. He was completely alone. Then, he heard it again, the voice. "Elias." He spun around, scanning the empty landscape. "Who are you?" he demanded, his pulse quickening. "Show yourself." For a few seconds, nothing. Then, from behind a shattered pillar, a figure appeared. She was tall, her skin shimmering like liquid metal. Her movements slow but graceful. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, and every time she blinked, the air around her bent like heat waves. She wore no armor, no visible tech, only strange silver threads across her body that seemed to merge with her skin. Elias raised his weapon instinctively. "Stay where you are." The figure tilted her head. Her voice came not through sound but directly into his mind. "You heard my call," she said softly. "I was not certain you would." Elias lowered his weapon slightly, his instincts at war with his curiosity. "You're the one who sent the transmission?" "Yes," she replied. "My name is Lyrae. I am the last of my kind." He stared at her, unsure what to believe. "The last? Of what?" Lyrae looked toward the ruins behind her, her expression unreadable. "This was once our home. We were called the Etherian Builders of Light. But our own creation destroyed us." As she spoke, Elias felt her words more than he heard them. Images flashed in his mind. Cities of crystal floating above oceans, of blue fire, giant machines harvesting energy from the stars, and then chaos. Machines turning against their masters, the skies burning, the surface consumed by storms of black matter. He gasped, stumbling back. "You're showing me this?" Lyrae nodded slowly. "I am connected to this world. The memories flow through me. What you see is what remains." Elias steadied himself. "You said I'm the only one who can reach it. What is it?" She turned toward the center of the ruins. In the distance stood a massive structure, like a mountain carved into perfect angles, glowing with faint blue veins of energy. "The heart core," she said. "The world's living core. It once kept the balance between matter and spirit. But when the collapse came, the heart was sealed. Only a being with empathy strong enough to merge with it can restore its pulse." He frowned. "Why me? I'm just a man. There are billions of others. You carry the resonance," she said quietly. "Your kind was not meant to reach this far, and yet humanity did. You feel life differently. You remember pain, loss, hope. You connect. That is what the heart needs." Before Elias could respond, the ground trembled beneath them. A low hum spread through the ruins, deep and rhythmic. Lyrae's face went pale. "They have sensed you." "Who?" "The Shades," she whispered. "Fragments of the machines that destroyed us. They feed on life energy, on memory." From the far edge of the ruins, black shapes began to rise. They looked like smoke given form, tall humanoid silhouettes with hollow eyes that burned faint red. The air around them turned cold. Elias aimed his plasma rifle. "Run!" Lyrae shook her head. "You cannot fight them, not yet. The only way to stop them is to awaken the hardcore. Follow me." She dashed toward the massive central structure, her feet barely touching the ground. Elias followed, his boots pounding against the glowing soil. The shades moved like liquid shadows, sliding over walls and pillars, whispering in a dozen voices. One reached out, brushing his shoulder, and in that instant, Elias saw flashes of his past. His father, his first ship, the day Earth burned in the first outer war. He staggered, firing blindly. The plasma shot went straight through the creature, leaving no mark. Lyrae reached him, pulling his arm. "Do not let them touch you. They consume your memories to become real." They ran through a narrow corridor made of light and metal. The shades followed, their forms merging into one long shadow stretching across the walls. When they reached the heart chamber's entrance, Lyrae raised her hand. A circular pattern appeared on the wall, and the metal shifted, opening like a flower. Inside was breathtaking. The chamber was enormous, with a massive crystal at its center, hundreds of meters tall, pulsing faintly like a dying star. The light from it filled the air, soft and warm. Elias felt his chest tighten. The crystal seemed alive, watching him. Lyrae knelt beside it. "This is what remains of my world. The core waits for someone who can feel." Elias approached, slowly reaching out. The warmth turned into vibration, running through his fingers. He could feel it breathing, like a heart barely beating. Then the voice inside his helmet changed. It was no longer Lyrae's. It was his own, whispering back to him. "You're the only one who can reach it." Elias froze. The words from the transmission. The same tone, the same echo. But this time it came from within the crystal itself. He looked back at Lyrae. Her eyes glowed brighter, almost pleading. "Now you understand," she said. "It has always been calling for you." Outside, the ruins rumbled as the shades closed in. The chamber's light flickered. Lyrae's voice grew urgent. "Elias, you must connect before it's too late." He hesitated, torn between reason and instinct. But as the shadows poured through the entrance, he made his choice. He placed his hand firmly on the crystal. The world exploded in light. A pulse shot outward, shaking the ground, scattering the shades into dust. For a single instant, Elias saw everything. The dead star reigniting, the planet breathing again, and Lyrae's face shining with both hope and fear. Then the chamber fell silent. The light faded. Elias collapsed to his knees, gasping. The crystal glowed faintly again, stronger now, but not as before. It was alive, and it was speaking in his voice. And somewhere deep inside, he realized the connection was now permanent. When Elias opened his eyes again, everything was spinning. His head pounded like it had been split open. The blue glow of the heart core pulsed steadily now, stronger, alive. But the air had changed. It felt heavier, thick with pressure, as if the entire planet had taken a breath and was holding it. Lyra knelt beside him, her hands glowing faintly. "You did it," she whispered, relief in her voice. "You reconnected the heart." Elias sat up slowly. His vision blurred for a moment, then sharpened, and he saw something strange. Streams of faint light like threads stretched from the crystal to his chest. They pulsed with every beat of his heart. "What's happening to me?" he asked, his voice shaking. "The connection has formed," Lyra said quietly. "The heart core recognizes you as part of its network. You are linked now, to every pulse, every atom of this world." Elias touched his chest, feeling a strange warmth under his skin. "Linked? You mean I can't disconnect?" "Not yet," she said, looking down. "You must finish what you started. The system needs stabilization. If we fail, both you and this world will fall apart." Before Elias could reply, the walls of the chamber began to rumble. The ground split slightly beneath them, releasing waves of cold air. Lyra's expression changed from calm to alarmed. "No," the activation drew them back. "The shades are reforming." From the shattered entrance, black mist began to pour in again. This time it moved faster, twisting and reforming into more solid shapes, metallic figures with glowing red cores. Their movements were sharp, mechanical, and coordinated. The planet had awakened its defense systems, and the corrupted guardians had come to destroy anything that was alive. "Run!" Lyra shouted. She grabbed Elias's arm and pulled him toward a side tunnel. The floor shook as massive tendrils of shadow slammed into the walls behind them, breaking chunks of stone loose. The two raced through winding corridors glowing with blue lines of energy, their shadows flickering on every wall. Elias's breathing was uneven. "Where are we going?" "To the upper conduit," she said quickly. "If we reach it, you can transfer control of the heart to the surface network. It will spread the pulse and protect the core." "Protect it from what?" She didn't answer. Her face was focused, tense, her eyes locked ahead. "From what is coming." As they climbed through the tunnels, Elias noticed the walls beginning to shift. The alien symbols were no longer static. They were moving like veins, pulsing with rhythm. Some even lit up as he passed by, responding to his presence. It was as if the structure itself recognized him now. They reached a vast chamber filled with enormous pillars stretching into the dark. Blue energy flowed between them like rivers of light. Across the room stood a circular gateway, its center swirling like a liquid mirror. "That's the conduit?" Elias asked. "Yes," Lyra said. "It connects the heart to the surface systems. Once you enter it, the network will open fully." Elias approached it, but the floor suddenly cracked open. From below, massive metal arms shot up, each ending in sharp claws glowing red. A towering machine emerged, its body made of twisting armor and shadow. Its voice roared through the chamber like thunder. "Unauthorized host detected. Purge protocol initiated." Elias fired his plasma rifle, but the shots melted harmlessly into the creature's armor. It advanced, each step shaking the ground. Lyra raised her hand, sending waves of blue light toward it, slowing it for a moment. "Hurry," she shouted. "Go through the conduit." "I'll hold it off." Elias looked back at her, then at the massive swirling gate. "I'm not leaving you here." "You must." "You are the heart's link now. If you die, it dies with you." Before he could argue, the machine lunged. Lyra threw both hands forward, releasing a burst of light that pushed it back, but the impact sent her crashing to the floor. Without thinking, Elias rushed to her side, pulling her up. "I said go," she screamed. He ignored her, turning his weapon's settings to overload. The rifle's lights turned red as the power built to critical levels. He aimed at the creature's exposed core and fired. The explosion shook the entire chamber. A wave of blue and red energy surged outward, throwing both of them to the ground. When the dust settled, the Guardian was gone, its armor scattered in molten fragments. Elias's rifle was destroyed. His hand burned, but they were still alive. Lyra looked at him, disbelief and something softer in her eyes. "You risked yourself for me," he smiled faintly. "You said I'm part of this world now. That means I protect it and you." She looked away, almost as if hiding her emotion. "Then hurry. The system is unstable. If the link collapses now, everything we've done will be lost." Elias nodded and stepped into the glowing gate. The surface around him melted into light, and suddenly he was standing above the ruins in the open air again. Only now everything looked different. The once dead sky blazed with new color. Rivers of energy flowed across the planet's surface like veins of light. The air hummed with warmth, alive with power, but in the distance he saw something else. Dark lines stretching across the sky, like cracks in reality. From those cracks emerged black shapes, ships vast and ancient cutting through the atmosphere like knives. He heard Lyray's voice echo through his mind, faint but clear. They have come. The same fleet that destroyed my people. They followed the signal. The rebirth of this world has drawn them here. Elias stared at the growing shadows above, his hands trembling but his eyes steady. Then we finish what we started, he said quietly. He turned toward the glowing horizon, the pulse of the planet beating with his own heart. This was no longer just a mission. This was a war for something greater, a connection between two species, one lost and one still learning what it meant to survive. And Elias Ward was no longer just a man. He was now the living link between a dying past and a new beginning. The horizon burned with soft blue fire as Elias stood on the plateau, staring at the sky that was no longer still. The planet had awakened. Rivers of light cut across the surface like glowing veins, running from the ancient ruins to the edges of the sea. Every pulse of light matched the rhythm in his chest. It was as if the entire world breathed with him. Lyra emerged from the mist beside him. The glow in her skin had grown stronger, her once fragile form now surrounded by a faint aura. She looked different, alive again, yet burdened. Her eyes met his, and she spoke in a voice both calm and sorrowful. The heart is fully aware now. It recognizes you as part of itself. You are no longer separate. Elias swallowed hard. You mean, I'm part of this planet? Yes, she said softly. It chose you, or perhaps you chose it. He looked down at his hands. His veins shimmered faintly beneath his skin, carrying threads of light just like the ones in the ground. The realization struck him like gravity. He wasn't just connected to the planet. He was part of it now. Before he could respond, the ground trembled. A deep, distant hum spread across the valley. Lyrie's face grew tense. They are here. Elias followed her gaze to the sky. The dark cracks that had split the heavens now widened, bleeding red light. Enormous ships broke through the clouds, alien dreadnoughts forged from black metal and fire. Their presence filled the atmosphere like a living storm. The same fleet that destroyed my people, Lyrie whispered. They followed the signal. They know the heart is awake. Elias clenched his fists. Then we make sure they never touch it again. Lyrie turned to him, her expression torn between hope and fear. You do not understand. These beings are not merely soldiers, they are what remains of my creators. The Etherean built them to protect this world, but they evolved. They decided life itself was a flaw. They do not destroy out of hatred, Elias. They purge existence because they see it as corruption. Her words settled heavily in the air. Elias stared at the sky where the fleet arranged itself in a perfect formation. Dozens of black ships began to descend, their engines humming with unbearable power. He took a deep breath. Then I'll show them what corruption can do when it fights back. Lyrie hesitated. You cannot fight them with weapons. You must use the heart, but if you connect again at full power, she trailed off. What happens? You will cease to be human, she said, her voice trembling. Your body cannot handle that much energy. You will dissolve into light, become one with the core. Elias stared at the glowing lines across the ground. If that's the price of saving this world, I'll pay it. Lyrie's eyes softened. You sound like the first of your kind we met long ago. Brave, reckless, human. They reached the top of the plateau, where a massive crystalline spire stood like a sword piercing the sky. It was part of the heart's outer network, glowing faintly. Elias placed his hand on it, and instantly images flooded his mind. Memories not his own. He saw Lyrie's people standing in light, their cities humming with harmony. Then he saw their fall. The sky filled with black ships, the surface burning, the screams echoing through eternity. He staggered, clutching his chest. I can feel them. All of them. They're still here, echoes trapped inside the heart. Lyrie nodded. Their consciousness remains within the system. You carry them now, Elias. You carry all that was lost. The alien ships fired their first volley. Bolts of crimson energy rained down on the valley, exploding across the ground. The planet's light dimmed for a moment like it had flinched in pain. Elias fell to one knee, feeling the shock through his bones. Lyrie placed her hand on his shoulder. You must open the core completely. It will defend itself through you. But once the merge begins, there is no return. He looked up at her. If I don't, everything dies, right? Yes, she said simply. He smiled faintly. Then I guess I've already decided. Elias closed his eyes and reached deeper into the link. The glow beneath his skin brightened, spreading through every nerve. The ground around him cracked, and the spire lit up like a star. Energy poured from his body into the planet, and for a moment, he could see everything. The oceans beneath the crust, the roots of mountains, the endless circuits of light that wrapped the world in memory. Then his mind expanded beyond his body. He could feel the alien ships in the sky, every particle, every motion like ripples in water. Lyrae stepped back, shielding her eyes from the light. "Elias!" she cried out. "You must focus or it will consume you." His voice echoed through the air, distorted and resonant as if multiple versions of him spoke at once. "I see them. I see everything." He raised his hand toward the sky, and lightning-like streams of energy shot upward, colliding with the alien fleet. The first wave of ships disintegrated instantly, torn apart by pure planetary energy. The others retaliated, firing beams that split the clouds. But the energy dissolved before reaching the surface. The planet itself had become a weapon, and Elias was its heart. Lyrae watched, both awed and terrified. The man before her was no longer just human. His body was fading, breaking into fragments of light. But in his fading form there was peace, like a man who had finally found his purpose. The last of the fleet began to retreat, realizing the futility of their assault. Elias's voice echoed again, softer now. "It's done. They won't return." Lyrae stepped forward, tears in her glowing eyes. "Elias, you must stop. You're burning yourself away." He looked at her and smiled, his face flickering between light and shadow. "Maybe, but I can feel them, your people. They're free now. The planet's alive again." The wind grew still. The light around him intensified until there was nothing left but brilliance. When it faded, Elias was gone. Only the glowing spire remained, humming quietly under the stars. Lyrae fell to her knees, whispering his name into the silence. And somewhere deep within the planet's pulse, a heartbeat answered back, steady and human. For a long time, there was only silence. The sky above the reborn world shimmered faintly, painted in endless streaks of blue and silver. The great alien fleet was gone, burned to nothing by the light that Elias Ward had become. The winds were calm now, carrying soft echoes through the canyons of ancient stone. Lyrae stood alone where the spire met the horizon. The energy that had once shaken the ground was now a quiet heartbeat, pulsing beneath her feet. The planet was alive again. She could feel its rhythm, steady and warm, flowing like blood through veins that stretched from the mountains to the seas. But with every pulse, she also felt him, Elias, somewhere deep within the core. She closed her eyes and reached out through the bond that had once connected them. "Elias," she whispered into the wind. "If you can still hear me, please, answer." At first there was nothing. Then a faint flicker of light rippled across the plateau, dancing across the stones like a breath. A voice echoed softly, distant but familiar. "Lyrae." Her heart caught. "You are still here." The voice came again, weaker now, fading in and out like waves against a distant shore. "I told you I'd reach it, but I didn't realize it meant becoming it." Lyrae knelt, pressing her palm to the ground. The surface glowed where she touched it, spreading out in rings of gentle light. "You gave yourself to save us all. Humanity will never know what you did here." "I didn't do it for them," Elias replied. "I did it because something in your voice told me I was meant to. Maybe this is what humanity was always supposed to do. Not conquer worlds, but understand them." His words drifted like mist, fading into the hum of the planet. Lyrae wanted to reach for him, but she knew she could not. He was no longer a man of flesh and bone. He was now the planet's pulse, the guardian of its memory. She stood looking to the horizon where the alien sky burned faintly with morning light. "The others will come," she said quietly. "They will sense the heart's rebirth." "I know," Elias whispered. "But this time we'll be ready." As his voice faded, the planet stirred. Great towers of crystal rose from the ground, connecting cities long buried. Rivers of blue energy flowed once more, feeding forests that shimmered with light. Lyrae felt the air around her thrum with renewed life. The Etherian world was no longer dead. It was reborn. And through it all, Elias watched from within. His consciousness spread across every heartbeat of the planet. She stayed by the spire for days, speaking to him when she could, sometimes getting no reply. The more the world awakened, the fainter his presence became, as if he were becoming part of something much larger. Yet she could still feel his warmth, steady, familiar, human. One day, while she stood overlooking the glowing valleys, a streak of light cut across the sky, a ship small and silver, bearing the insignia of the Terran Federation. Humanity had arrived. Lyray's breath caught. They had followed the signal just as Elias once had. She watched as the ship descended, landing gently on the surface. From its ramp stepped a small crew of humans in exploration suits. Their leader, a woman with dark hair and a steady gaze, looked around with awe. "By the stars," she murmured. "The readings said this system was dead. How is this possible?" Lyra stepped forward slowly, her presence radiant yet calm. The humans froze when they saw her, unsure whether to fear or bow. She smiled faintly. "Welcome," she said. "You stand on the world your kind helped save." The captain tilted her head, confused. "Our kind? You mean humans?" Lyra nodded. "Yes. One of your people answered a call long ago. He gave everything to bring this world back." The woman frowned. "Who?" Lyra hesitated, looking at the glowing soil beneath her feet. "His name was Elias Ward." The crew exchanged glances. One of them whispered, "Captain, there's a record of him. Captain Ward, missing in action near the Orion Rim almost 20 years ago." Lyra's eyes softened. "He is not missing. He is here." The humans looked around, bewildered. "Here where?" Lyra placed a hand on the ground, and instantly the soil beneath them pulsed with light. The glow spread outward, forming patterns, lines that converged into a single symbol, a human hand reaching toward the stars. The captain took a step back, awe filling her eyes. "Is that him?" "Yes," Lyra said. "He became one with this world. His essence protects it now. Every gust of wind, every spark of light you breathe because of him,